Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here for the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today it is November 5th, 2021, and today's show is brought to you by our friends at McDonald's. On today's show, we discuss the latest in Big 12 coaching news because there's a few stories, very interesting stories to get to in that realm. And also, we'll take a look ahead at this week's games, a quicker pick segment this week. Really want to spend the first half of the show on these Big 12 coaching stories because there are a few of note. All right, let's get into it.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, here it is on the Locked On Big 12 podcast today. A couple things before we get into the news. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You can follow me at JoshNeighbors_ as you see on your screen. Also find us on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, all of those places. In addition to us being on YouTube now. I've been there for about, let's say 2 months now. I think we've been on YouTube for, so very exciting stuff that we've been going on YouTube now, in addition to Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, all those places that you get your podcasts from. All right, so there's been a whole lot of coaching news as of late, and the latest news kind of on the TCU and Texas Tech coaching searches. Saw this earlier today from Richard Johnson over at Sports Illustrated. He says, quote, sources tell me and Ross Dellinger that Sonny Dykes has a contract extension offer on his desk from SMU to make him one of the highest paid G5 coaches in the country. He just hasn't signed it yet, end quote. That was his tweet. So he makes the pun that they're ponying up. This would make him one of the highest paid G5 coaches. Right now, Dana Holgorsen is right there at $4 million. Luke Fickell is about $3.4 million as well. So these two are pretty close. Obviously, Sonny Dykes right now, they want to up his salary from where it's at. I believe they said it's around 1.5. And once again, SMU is a private school, so they are not bound to report all of their financials. They don't have to say really how much they're paying Sonny Dykes, but I saw the figure was around a little bit over 1, and they would probably close to double that. Nobody knows what the exact figure is, but according to the reporting here, it's going to be a substantial jump for Sonny Dykes if he takes the offer. Now, obviously, the other things weighing on him right now are the possibility that he takes another job. And the number one job that we're hearing him linked to would be the TCU job, obviously across town for Sonny Dykes. That would be the transition, but SMU left out of the latest round of conference expansion. So this would position Sonny Dykes to take a step up and go to the Power 5 and take a TCU job that is being seen as one of the best 20 to 25 jobs really in the country, in the DFW area. Power 5 job, lots of money right there. And obviously Gary Patterson, I know he's no longer there and was not the coach that he was at one point, but did lay a substantial groundwork for somebody else to come in and do a very good job. So all of those things are very appealing. We'll have to see what Sonny Dykes does, but I think the fact that he has yet to sign this offer shows you that he is leveraging said deal kind of across the board. He's leveraging it and wants to see what he gets in other places. It's a smart move, and I assume it's kind of what he's going to be doing right now. And you've heard other names kind of involved with this. Jay Norvell, Tony Elliott, Deion Sanders has been involved. Obviously, Jeff Traylor over at UTSA has signed his contract extension. So it looks like he'll be staying there for the immediate, kind of in the immediate future right now. TCU is interested in Kellen Moore at head coach. This, according to NBC Sports, he's got some interest in that job. Or excuse me, TCU has some interest in him in that job. Now, I was on Big 12 radio yesterday, producing over there at SiriusXM, and I thought Gabe Eicher made a really good point. If you're Kellen Moore, why wouldn't you use the assets you have there right now? Dak Prescott, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott, CD Lamb, Amari Cooper. Why would you not ride that as far as you could? And eventually, in my opinion, this would be true too, get an NFL head coaching job. I think that's on the table right now. I think it's definitely on the table for Kellen Moore in his future if he keeps up the way he's going. And look, he's just 33 years old, young guy. It's very desirable, and he might have the opportunity to avoid the whole recruiting part of things, right? If he plays this correctly, he'll have a chance to avoid the recruiting side of this situation and be able to, maybe get a head coaching job in the NFL. But the bare minimum, he's gonna be able to keep that job with the Cowboys. So I don't see him moving in the immediate futures. And also, I'm sure you guys saw the picture TCU football had the other day. Gary Patterson back in the facility. It sounds like he's having a tough time letting go. I obviously don't blame him. That was his job for a long time, but kind of a team picture scenario. He was in the facility the next day going over his game plan with the coaches for Baylor. So, kind of a weird situation all the way around when it comes to Gary Patterson. All right, we'll take a look at the Texas Tech head coaching job and some of the latest news there. But first, a word from our sponsors. Today's Locked On Big 12 podcast is brought to you by our friends at McDonald's. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get a tasty, affordable meal. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect, a place where classmates meet up for a study group, knowing you'll have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. I'm not a type of guy who dips them, though. It's not I know the sweet and salty thing. I don't dip my French fries in McFlurries. Win or lose, it's where teammates, competitors, the home team, the away team can come to recharge. It's a place you look forward to stopping by on a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there for us, for you, whatever. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. There you go. That's my best crack. That's the best you're going to get out of me. I did a horrible take last week with Robbie Triano, but that was pretty decent right there for your McDonald's read. All right, also on the Texas Tech side of things, there is some news there. Texas Tech has had communication with Hugh Freeze, per a source. This comes over from Jarrett Johnson at 247 Sports. I don't have a subscription over there. I read The Athletic. Excuse me. I read The Athletic. I have a subscription there. Do not over there at 247 Sports. So I'm not kind of privy to what's happening there. But obviously, Texas Tech job has been really interesting to me because the names that have been mentioned aren't names where there is cleanliness, I should say. Obviously, Hugh Freeze's situation at Ole Miss puts him in kind of a weird spot. Goes to Liberty, which really doesn't seem to have much of a care for, caring about these situations. Obviously, the ProPublica story has come out recently, and people have seen that about them suppressing students, telling them not to report certain things. And also, we know that they had I think it was the old Baylor athletic director, I believe, who was there at one point. That a president. I'm forgetting which one it was. But there are a few coaches in this round that are going to be associated with that. Kendall Briles, Art Briles, and Jeff Lebby all have ties, obviously, to Baylor. Kendall Briles being the son of Art Briles. And then Jeff Lebby was a coach there at the same time that situation was going down as well. So some of the coaches being mentioned, Texas Tech's a hard job. So I actually don't fault them for having to go with these names, but Hugh Freeze, that would be an interesting one. Guy's a fantastic football coach, a good recruiter. None of that stuff has ever been in question. Kind of the person that Hugh Freeze is. I know he portrays a man of faith. I'm not here to question directly his faith, but I would say that there has been some hypocrisy in the past of Hugh Freeze's tenure kind of in certain places, and kind of the guy that he projects, the guy that actually is. Obviously had the comment where he said, "Only Jesus can handle my junk," a really weird comment that he made. One of my favorite press conference comments that we've seen. But I've also heard a lot of people questioning, why would you fire a guy? Does this really give you a heads up on the next recruiting class? I thought Bud Elliott made a great point the other day on the Cover 3 podcast. Look, sometimes when coaches take over, they really don't have great recruiting class, especially in December with the early signing period. It kind of gets you in the tank. So if you can get somebody in position by November, late December, and you can kind of establish that it's trending a certain way. If you can set that up and get that knocked down, that's actually going to help you in the recruiting period. It is. I know people are saying it really can't help you that much, can it? Can it really help you that much? I think it can. I really think it can get you a leg up in that recruiting period. Maybe it's only a week, maybe it's a week and a half, 2 weeks. But Bud Elliott did say eventually there's going to be a coach who leaves a job midseason to go get a head start at another job. Maybe there's 3 or 4 games left, and the head coach kind of in waiting is there trying to go get ahead and recruit and do stuff like that. He sees that as a definite possibility moving forward. I tend to agree with him. TCU and Texas Tech are rather publicly doing their coaching search right now. I don't blame them. I was, once again, I know people were kind of against this move, but I'm somebody that was on board with that. I think it was the right move at the right time for these schools because they felt like they had to make a move and they're going to get a head start on these coaching searches. And I don't blame them at all. So obviously some interest there with Texas Tech and Hugh Freeze. I know some people in the Virginia Tech realm who would love to see Hugh Freeze at Virginia Tech. I'm wondering if there's any kind of moral quandary there. I'm not hearing about any at this moment in time, but you never know with a guy like Hugh Freeze. So we'll see. We'll see what people's moral parameters are. Is it been enough time between incidents to keep a Kendall Briles? I don't think Art Briles gets hired. To keep a Kendall Briles, to keep a Jeff Levy, to keep a Hugh Freeze from getting fired? Is there, or it's going to keep them from getting hired rather? Is there been enough time between those incidents? I tend to think there is, but I do think there are some places that might say, no, I don't think you're going to see a TCU go and get a Hugh Freeze. I don't really see that situation kind of percolating. All right, one more word from our sponsors before we get to picks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at betonline.ag. Go to betonline.ag today. Football, basketball, baseball, boxing, UFC, Formula One, everything they've got that you could want, they've got there at betonline.ag. A new updated desktop interface right there for you all. It's free to sign up. When you do, use the promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On, and you'll receive a 50% deposit bonus today. It's a 50% deposit bonus from our friends at betonline.ag. BetOnline, they're your online sportsbook experts. BetOnline is where the game starts. Today's show is also brought to you by Built.com. That's Built.com. They've got Built Bars there. I'm sure you guys have heard us talk about Built Bars before. Plenty of delicious flavors. They've got coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, and cherry bar chia. You can go to Built.com today. It's Built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15, LOCKED15, LOCK15 today, and you guys will get 15% off at Built.com. All right, moving on to picks. We've got Big 12 games this week, of which there are 4. So 4 fun matchups to preview. First one is Kansas State at Kansas. Now, this one, K-State is looking for their 13th straight win against Kansas. And a lot of these in this streak have been pretty hefty margins, I should say. I'm on Kansas State this week. Kansas has a really bad record covering the spread, so I'm kind of lean towards Kansas State in this situation. They're playing their best ball of the season. Skylar Thompson is getting healthier. They've got a chance now to go to 6-3, I believe it is. 6-3 this week with a win, so put themselves in territory to get to 7 or 8 wins. Pretty good in the regular season, that is. Pretty good, spot to be in if you're Kansas State. Hey, look, still technically could win 10 games this year. They could go 9-3, win a bowl game. So that's still alive at this point of the season. 6-3 is on the line. I think they're either 6-3. Yeah, they're 5-3 right now, so they have a chance to get to 6-3 and 500 in the conference after being 3-3. So a really good start, a good kind of a November start available there for Kansas State, all the way to 24 points. All right, the game that I'm most excited about is West Virginia getting 3.5 at home against the number 11 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. I've been on Oklahoma State all year. I was on the right side of that game that they had against Iowa State, obviously with the weird spot. Iowa State gets the kind of the shaft last week in their game in Morgantown in West Virginia. So here is a big spot for the Mountaineers. They are 500 now at 4-4. Can they keep this thing rolling against a 7-1 Oklahoma State that was mad and laid out Kansas last week? They took their frustrations out in the Jayhawks. I feel very bad for them. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here. I know how good West Virginia's been, and they did a great job against that Iowa State defense. I don't think they line them up and knock them down like that 2 weeks in a row. I think Oklahoma State gets some pressure on Jared Dagey. They throw a lot at you, a lot of different packages. I think it's going to be a good day for Colby Harvell-Peel. I think it's a good day for the secondary. I think they force some mistakes, and I think this offense is going to be able to find a reasonable rhythm. Now, we know the West Virginia defense has been good at times, but last week they got some timely stops. But on the whole, Iowa State was moving the ball up and down the field of them. They had some coverage busts, so I think it's another good week for an offense going up against this West Virginia defense. I think it's a closer game. I think Oklahoma State seals in the end of the defensive stop or something like that. I think they win maybe 24-20, 27-20, somewhere in that range. Maybe it's even lower scoring than that, 21-13. I think Oklahoma State takes care of business on the road this week. Baylor and TCU. I think there's a chance here that TCU comes out and plays inspired football. Obviously, no Gary Patterson this week for them. It's going to be Jerry Kill at the helm. Maybe they come out inspired, but I tend to think it's going to be more of a rudderless situation, kind of a situation where they have a tough time getting things going. They're at home, but this Baylor team, they've been a machine all season. I think that machine continues. They pick up a big win right here. I think they're focused. They're not going to look ahead to that game against Oklahoma. Maybe it's close at times, but I think this Baylor offense is good enough to exploit the issues in the TCU defense. I took TCU the points last week. I'm going to go Baylor here and lay it 6.5. I think that's where I'm going to go. So I'm on 3 favorites so far. Ugh. I was 3-2 last week, and I'm 3 games over 500 overall in the year so far. It's pretty crazy to think that's all the picks, but I'm 3 games over all the Big 12 games this season. All right, last game, Texas at Iowa State. Iowa State's giving 6.5. I'm going to take the Longhorns here plus the points. You've had Monkeygate this week. You've had, obviously they're 4-4. You had the Joshua Moore situation this week. Iowa State's going to be angry going back home. I think Texas loses another close game. I think they lose another close game. I don't think they cover that many points. I don't think Iowa State rather covers the 6.5. I can see this thing get up to 7 by game time. If it goes to a full 7, might be in a good spot. This is definitely a tease situation, in my opinion. I would almost do, if you could do a Texas Oklahoma State teaser, that'd be great. Maybe Oklahoma State getting like 4.5 points and Texas getting 12.5 points. Whatever way it's 7-point teaser, maybe 13.5 points. But I think this is good tease territory. I think you can really tease this line up and kind of, if you can get this thing around 2 scores, you get this thing over 2 scores in a tease, 2-team tease, that might be a good way to roll in this one. But I think Texas is able to keep this thing close. I think Iowa State gets the win. I think Texas does drop below 500. But once again, I know people are worried about Sark, and I know it is concern. But once again, wait till he gets all of his players in there. Give him a year or two. I know there's no patience at Texas because the ideas of grandeur and what that program really is are not equal to what the program actually is right now. But give him some time. It's always been my message this year. But those are my picks this week for the Big 12 games. They were quick, but so is this week. We're going to really touch on the coaching stuff and get quicker on the picks this week. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You can follow me at JoshNeighbors_. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.